retro gamers, today we're reviewing Lotus 2 R.E.C.S for the Genesis and the Mega Drive. Side note, I really wish it wasn't called Mega Drive here. It really is a shit heap of a name compared to Genesis. I mean, like, what are they trying to prove? It's a Mega Drive? Anyway, this was released in 1993 by Gremlin Interactive and Electronic Arts, which is obvious by the obnoxious yellow piece of plastic all their cartridges have. Usually I don't give branded racing games a chance, or branded games in general, but I do have a soft spot for Lotuses, stemming back to Gran Turismo 2 for some really odd reason. Lotuses are, well, I don't really have a word for them. The closest thing I can do to explain is project a mental image of myself drooling. I think they're fantastic cars. So move over Ferrari or Maserati. Lotus is the first car I'm buying when IGN or GameSpot buy a retro game one for $900 million reduce.
Believe it or not, this is actually a console port of Lotus 3, the Ultimate Challenge, which was released on various computer systems at the time. For the most part it's a fairly solid port, also adding the Race Environment Construction System, which is abbreviated to R.E.C.S in the title. On the surface, it's a pretty ordinary racing game from the early 1990s, incorporating a championship mode or races where you are timed. It's all the little extras, however, that boost this game beyond ordinary into the hey, that's pretty cool dude gameplay tier. I first tried out the time mode where I was introduced to the gameplay in general. There are only 3 cars to choose from, and while they all handle the same no matter how many specs they throw up on the screen, there are at least 3 real cars. All racing games seem to have a couple of compulsory cars, like the sporty red convertible or the sleek futuristic looking dark coloured race car. At least in this game they have a name and includes the Spirit, the Elan SE and the M200. You're also spotted with the choice of automatic or manual transmission, but who actually ever uses manual shift? Seriously, you have a distinct disadvantage to someone who's choosing automatic. Anyway, I found the handling to be quite easy. This is the sort of game where you have to concentrate on steering more than braking. There are plenty of tight corners, debris, and other vehicles to navigate which you don't want to rear end. The opponents seem to be made out of a highly bounceable rubber-like material, which will do nothing but slow you down and boost them further down the track if touched. The objective of the time mode is standard fare. You must race from checkpoint to checkpoint before the timer runs out, seeing how far you can progress. Generally I'm not a fan of those modes, mostly because of how mundane they are, but I'll create an exception here since it's just so damn fun to relentlessly steer around stuff without braking. Plus the final second on the countdown seems oddly lenient. Have you ever been playing this mode on another game and missed out on completion by a second? I didn't seem to have that issue in this game. The championship mode, however, does have a bit more substance to it. It's the same 3 cars, but you must finish in the first 10 places every race to progress, which isn't all that demanding compared to similar games. Even better on top of that, there is a password system, so even if you do fail a race, you can just continue where you left off. It's in this mode where all the little things start to shine that take it above other races. For example, out of nowhere this becomes a vintage road club racer as you're suddenly in the far-flung future, probably 2003, which involves wipeout like power boost zones. The next thing you know though, it's more like a rally game as you're on a slippery dirt track driving through puddles. In another, you can tell there are huge gusts of wind as there's crap blowing across the road, also causing your beautiful Lotus to pull in the same direction. It's little variations in the gameplay like those which makes it shine and keep it interesting, and I wasn't expecting any of them. While there is no time limit to the championship mode, you do have to keep an eye on your fuel gauge. Honestly, fuel systems in racing games are a pain in the butt for me. I'm glad this is a feature that has not survived onto modern releases. It's just an idea that doesn't make very much sense to me. Like, are the fuel tanks laughably small? Is there a leak? It just doesn't make much practical sense like a time limit does. I also don't like the constant pressure of running out, just in case I get laughed at by my fellow Lotus driving friends, who are no doubt rich, pretentious wankers. Not all races require you to refill however, but it's always a risk to see if you can make it through on one tank. The Race Environment Construction System was supposed to be a big feature of this port, even featuring in the title of the game. It's a misleading string of words though, as one would think it's a track creator, when in fact it's more like a track generator, only giving the freedom to change certain variables like the track length, difficulty, or features like how many hills there are. It's too bad it has a misleading name though, when in fact it's a great way to extend the life of the game, creating the possibility of an infinite amount of tracks, doubly helping in regards to multiplayer. I can foresee nights creating track after track with friends while beer after beer is consumed. If only I had another Mega Drive controller though. Or beer. But for that fact, friends. The graphics really stood out to me in this game, not because of the amount of detail, which is fairly in line with competitors, but the amount of effects used. Again, like the gameplay variations, there is a constant barrage into your eyeballs of cool looking things, like how nighttime is handled, the vast turning tunnels, or even things like the puddles. These go hand in hand with the sound effects, like the lightning, which feature pretty okay digital versions of the real thing. However, what I really liked in the sound department was the music. Even though there are only 4 songs, each one is fantastic and instantly memorable. They're finger-tappingly good, which sometimes messes with my steering mojo, forcing me to tap with my feet instead. This causes further issues since the Mega Drive is such an easy console to reset with your toe. The only real issue I encountered with the audio was the fact that the music and the sound effects can't be played at the same time. You have to choose between either. This is a shame since they're both so good, and if they were combined, it would be absolutely amazing. I guess this comes down to hardware restrictions, since I guess both audio channels are quite detailed, but it's a shame nonetheless.
I once saw a Lotus in real life. It was on my local highway, and I've never seen anything speed up to 80 kilometers an hour faster. It was beautiful. Maybe one day I'll own a Lotus, but for now, I think this game will do. It's a lot of fun, with plenty of cool quirks thrown in to keep it interesting, and plenty of replayability thanks to R.E.C.S. The sound effects are also quite listenable, and the music is great. Maybe the only thing letting it down is the easiness, but that sort of seems like a void point when it would make it accessible to so many gamers. If you come across this and like races, then I'd recommend it, even more so if you're into Lotuses like I am.
Hey retro gamers, and thanks for watching. First and foremost, if you liked what you saw, please consider a subscription. I release a video just about every week. If you'd like to stay updated by social media though, I also run both a Facebook and a Twitter account which can be accessed by the description box. I've also run my own blog based on this fine hobby for the last couple of years now. Recently I wrote about going to an arcade, which was an interesting experience since I haven't been in the mainstream for a couple of decades now, as well as about a newly acquired refurbished Game Gear. You can check out that content by clicking the channel's logo within this video. Lastly, there are some clickable links to my 2 previous videos, and yeah, that's just about it for today. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.